Hey, what's up guys? Cain here with XBLA fans, and I'm going to be giving you a quick taste of Candle, the Power of Flame. Now, I'm going to start this off with something that seems a little obvious to me, and that's just, it's not exactly the best optimized in some aspects. You're going to notice it with the subtitles. If you can possibly read these, because I barely could and my face is like right next to the TV, skip your eye doctor's appointments for the next decade. You're good, man. You don't need them. But don't let that scare you off, unless that's something that you desperately need. The game is actually really cool. It's really good. It's very beautiful, very artistic. Just some really cool, unique things going on with this game. We're going to jump into it in a second. I just wanted to leave in kind of this intro stuff just to let you see that there actually is a little bit of a story going on. You're going to play as Teku. He's got this cool little gift where he can light himself on fire. No, it's not Candleman. It's a completely different concept here. This is more of a story-driven puzzle game. Little bit of platforming that is not this game's strength by any means. So a lot of it is you got to figure out how to solve a puzzle. You got to, go from point A to point B, find out what you need to get past something, and then utilize a specific item or, a specific puzzle solve or something to just keep moving past. The game has this really cool watercolor visual, and I think it's really neat they've added in even stuff like this. I've completed the entire first act of the game. I think it took me about an hour and a half. And that's with getting stuck for a while on one specific issue. So I can just kind of tell you up front that without a guide, there are a couple things that are just a little bit obtuse. And there's a couple things that you think should work that won't work. So you got to kind of figure things out a little bit in the right order. Every once in a while, there's something that's just going to be a little confusing if you're not willing to, kind of cheat and look online. Believe it or not, a lot of the game is actually pretty upfront and pretty clear. And it does a good job of trying to giving you environmental cues. So, like, you'll be looking around the level and you'll see, like, maybe this cool painting. And that painting's actually going to, kind of get you where you need to go. So let's jump into the game here. I'm going to kind of just run through this first little segment. This is kind of like a tutorial. And this will kind of give you a perspective on what the gameplay is going to be like for this game. And then obviously there's some other stuff later where I'm going to jump into a little bit of basic puzzles just so you guys can kind of see, the kind of style this game has with that stuff. There's a lot of different variety in it so far, and I definitely say that it's got some clever ones. Every once in a while you'll do one and you'll be like, man, that was smart. And then every once in a while you'll just find one and be like, ugh, this is awful. So, more or less, you move around, you can run, you can jump. A lot of this game is, clicking something, it'll pop up that menu that says you can use an item. You gotta find the proper item. And then you got to go up there. Now this is a tutorial though, so I got to do things in a specific order. So that's kind of what I'm doing right here. I've already beaten this segment, so this isn't anything that I don't know how to do. So it's going to be pretty quick. That's one nice thing. We streamed this on twitch.tv/XBLA fans. We play a lot of games on there before we even do our quick tastes. So I would definitely give us a follow on there if you haven't before. It's one place you're going to get to see a lot more extended gameplay. Because when we do these quick tastes, we like to at least have played enough of the game to kind of give you our perspective on it. So, like, I've played about a third of this game now. There's 3 whole, kind of acts. And there's a decent kind of plot going on. Like these kind of enemies have come. They've kidnapped the shaman. We got to go save him. Nothing too deep, obviously. But, one of the cool things about the game is the way that the candle is going to work. And one instance here is obviously it's lit up this room. But another problem with that is when we do leave, if I leave my flame lit, it's going to let him see me. So I need to put out my flame, and this will allow me to sneak up behind him and just push him over. You're going to have to defeat enemies in a couple creative ways at times. That one's the most simplistic. And then you're going to have to, make sure you continue to keep your flame lit. Your flame is going to be very essential for a lot of puzzles. and also for scaring off certain enemies, whereas for some it'll kind of attract them. If those guys that we just pushed down noticed us, you can't really fight them or anything. You're just going to instantly die. So you got to avoid them. If you notice, I kind of screwed up doing this power charge thing. To me, every once in a while, the controls will get in the way, and I'll just kind of like forget something. They feel a little awkward. But, I mean, that may be more my fault than the game's. So, I mean, just to kind of run things down, I think this game is actually really beautiful. I think it has some really cool puzzles. But every once in a while, I think the controls are a little funky. The jump is a little funky. It's not the best at some of that stuff. And some of the puzzles are just flat out obtuse. And that gets a little difficult when that happens. But let's jump into the actual game here. And you guys are going to get a good perspective on what the actual gameplay is kind of like. So we're going to just kind of have to float to the surface here. Every once in a while you'll have these kind of like button mashing kind of segments. It's never anything you got to rush. It's not like, oh my god, I'm going to die if I don't hit it quick enough. So you don't have to worry about that. But I mean, this is just kind of what you can expect to see in this game. Some basic kind of, you know, okay, I need to get to this point. How do I get there? And, you know, you just kind of push objects down. You know, you collect that little collectible up there, which I'm going to need for another puzzle later in the game. So some of this stuff you can do in different orders. Like, I don't actually need this item right away. I could kind of do something else and then come back to this area. And that's something you're going to realize as you're playing this game, is you're going to kind of, like, have a couple different pathways you can go. And eventually you're going to realize, okay, for pathway, you know, 1... I need certain item, but I can't find it. So maybe it's in pathway 2. Then you're going to have to go back to pathway 2 and continue pathway 2 to get a little bit further. That'll get you, you know, the item you need for the other one, and you can go back to it. And that's going to kind of happen over and over in this game a little bit, is you're going to have to find certain items and, you know, certain things to be able to kind of solve the next puzzle. It can get a little funky when you can't figure out where to go next. But here's a good example of one that I think is pretty clever. This is just a cool little boulder puzzle. And one thing about this game that I haven't mentioned is the fact that there are some crazy deaths in it. It's kind of got some Limbo-esque moments of just like watching you die. There is me failing at some basic platforming. It just, I don't know what I did. I guess I pushed forward and it caused me to jump off instead of just jumping straight up. Just a mistake on my end, more than anything. But that just lets you see again, there's a lot of ways to die in this game. There's tons of things in this level that are going to try to kill you. And some are pretty basic, and some aren't. But I think this is just a clever puzzle here. Because part of what's cool about this is that's going to, you know, then push forward. And that's going to let us advance in the level. And not only did it do that, it's also going to let us collect this item. And then behind it, there's actually the answer to the next puzzle. And that's what I like about this game, is the fact that they use environmental cues constantly. Like, a lot. You're going to have to pay attention to the environment in this game. There's a lot of things going on. You're going to have to figure it out. So, like, right there in front of me, there's a picture of a guy grabbing that vine. If I hadn't grabbed that vine, there's this little thorn creature up there who would have stabbed me when I tried to jump up here. Every time without fail. You can't platform around it. There's nothing you can do. You're going to die. So you have to grab that vine, and until you figure out, oh, there's art telling me to do this, it's a little tricky. Now, obviously, I kind of know the solution to this one, which makes it pretty quick. But again, this is an example of just kind of the variety you're going to see in the different puzzles. Because this one, you just kind of got to figure out, A, how do these things move to begin with? And B, where do I need to get them, you know, to actually, you know, show. So if you noticed when we moved that boulder, we had water, fire, fire. Now we move water, fire, fire, and we get this. And that's pretty cool to me. So that's the stuff that this game does really well. It executes amazing at that. Here's where the game does not execute as amazing. And this is kind of a basic platforming jump, but it is not exactly the most responsive game to do that kind of stuff. So it worked out that time doing it, but honestly, sometimes those things can feel a little funky. In fact, I've died just jumping to this before. And it's not something that should be that difficult, but every once in a while it feels like it doesn't respond exactly how you expect. So this is an example of, like, I can't continue this way yet. There's something I need to find to be able to continue to advance in this area. So I'm going to kind of just end the quick taste here. I don't want to get too spoilery, don't want to cover too much of the game. But we're going to eventually just work our way back now that we have fire. And this is going to allow us to do different things. Now, normally you'd want to save here. There's tons of these save gates. You can have multiple files. You can stack them in case you get caught. You know, or in case you figure out some. Now, normally this fire would scare off this creature, but I feel like ending a quick taste the proper way by letting him get a quick taste of me. So we're just going to show you kind of some of the deaths. I like these. It's clever. There's a lot of things going on with this game. This is Candle. It is out now on Xbox One. I believe for $15.99. Definitely check it out. It's pretty cool. Thank you. Oh, well, it's actually on sale for $15.99. It's normally $19.99, so sale's going to end pretty soon. Thank you guys again for checking out this video. I really do appreciate it, and later.